SVG-TV News for Friday, July 18th, 2025. I am Yvette Bowens with the details. A closing and grant award ceremony was held today at the UWI Global Campus for the Technical Assistance for Men's Employment and Entrepreneurship Development, the Tamid project. The initiative was executed by the Center for Enterprise Development, the CED, with funding from the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Grants were awarded to 38 participants who successfully completed the training program, including those who took part in the business pitch competition, a key component of the project. Developed by the CED, Tamid was designed to equip male entrepreneurs with the skills necessary for sustainable business growth. The program focused on 3 pillars: personal and professional development, mentorship, and financial support. Training coordinator at the CED, Keisha Phillips, noted that the program initially began with 44 participants, including a few women. Of those, 36 individuals completed the full training. Phillips emphasized that this was the first program of its kind in St. Vincent and the Grenadines and possibly the Eastern Caribbean, and described it as a milestone worth celebrating.
It is more or less of a pilot nature, being the first. We have learned a lot from you. There are lessons learned to be taken away from this, not just for you as the participants, for us as well from CED and from our partner, the church. And we will be using what we've gathered from this to help to improve future programs that we would be delivering. And likewise, we would want you, continue to urge you, the participants, to ensure that you don't just put down your notes or the knowledge and skill sets you gathered these couple of months, but you truly implement. Some of you have already indicated to us, we've seen where you are already implementing changes in your operations and in your plans. We would continue to monitor you and work with you to ensure that you continue to develop the businesses and that you are doing things the right way, so in order to ensure the success of your businesses. The name said it. The program aims to empower you as men to operate as entrepreneurs, to help to create employment, and overall, as I love to tell you, generate wealth, not just for you alone. It's for the entire St. Vincent and the Grenadines. You're talking about the economy of St. Vincent and the Grenadines.
Pierre Gonzalez, Self-Reliance Manager for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints in the area, underscored the church's commitment to both spiritual and economic development. He shared that their mission is to invite all to come unto Christ, and self-reliance is an essential part of that journey.
Us to provide for ourselves and to have better futures, to have better lives. And this program, I love that it's helped and bless your guys' life, and hopefully it will continue to do that in your lives as you continue with your businesses. Yea, I prepared all things and have given unto the children of men to be agents unto themselves. I love this because the Lord in this scripture is saying that He is a creator. He created everything. Everything is His. And His purpose is to provide for us. So at the end, I love how He says that the earth is full and there is enough and to spare. And I know that this is true. And I know in the Caribbean, it is sometimes difficult to see this. It's very difficult, right? When you live in a certain situation, when you've seen your family struggles, when you've seen the island struggles. But I can promise that you can always trust that there is always enough and sufficient to spare. And if you put it in God's hands, He will provide, like He is doing now. Like if you trust in those promises, there's enough to provide for our lives.
General Manager of the CED, Rosette Lewis, in her address, praised the participants for their dedication and vision, noting that today's celebration is not only about completing a program, it is about the progress of individuals who have chosen growth over comfort, action over hesitation, and vision over limitation.
When we launched this initiative at CED, We did so with a clear intention of creating an enabling environment for men, where we saw men coming together with purpose. Purpose to sharpen their skills, learn new skills, build networks, and empower themselves to become better business owners and operators, thus impacting their businesses, their families, and their communities. So while the original intent was to have a men's-only program, we were pleased to welcome a few exceptionally talented females to the program as well. Today, as I look around the room, I'm filled with pride. You, the participants, you have shown commitment. I have heard your cries. I have seen the struggles, and I know the balances that you had to make and the sacrifices, but you have shown commitment. What you have achieved today, it's not easy, and we know. You challenge yourselves. You opened up yourselves to new ways of succeeding personally and professionally. You have gained tools not only for enterprise development, but for leadership in your families and your communities. And I stress that because every time we have any initiative at CED, we go beyond the person sitting in front of us. We don't see an individual. We see beyond the individual. We see your families who are impacted by the fact that you can support them and provide for them, your children that you can send to school, your son and your daughters whose subjects you can pay for because you have something where you can bring in and earn $1. So we see beyond you. We see your families, and then we see your communities as well. And of course, St. Vincent and the Grenadines on a whole.
Two participants, Rafiq Batiste, owner of SVG Pest Control and Property Management, and Ferric Short, winner of the Business Pitch Competition and founder of Union Food Processing, shared their reflections on the impact of the program and how it has transformed their outlook and approach to business.
When I first heard of this program and was told about the training, I did not know what to expect or how good it would be. But then after the first session, it was like, okay, we're getting somewhere. Knowledge passing, we're going good. And then now that this has come to an end, and everything that we were taught and trained in, it was just an amazing program. And as my mother would always tell me, as my mother would have always told me that what you put in up here, nobody could take from you. Nobody could take that from you. So as a participant in the program and my fellow participants, I would like us to understand that what we got in terms of knowledge, we could use it to multiply and we could use it to feed others. And I thank CED and the Church of Latter-day Saints for coming up with such a brilliant program.
Over the past month, we have embarked on a journey, one that has not only equipped us with new skills, but has ignited the entrepreneurial spirit within each of us. This project stands as a testament to the power of education and collaboration in driving small business growth and employment. By focusing on business startups and entrepreneurship, we have learned how to transform ideas into viable enterprises, understanding that success begins with vision and is sustained by determination and knowledge.
The Tamid project is seen as a groundbreaking initiative aimed at empowering male entrepreneurs to become economically self-sufficient, with hopes for its continuation and expansion in the future. Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonsalves is reminding Vincentians of the historical importance of emancipation and its significance to the identity and development of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Speaking at the recent launch of Emancipation activities held at Annesville Sporting Complex earlier this week, Dr. Gonsalves shared insights into the historiography of emancipation, emphasizing that SVG holds a unique place in the broader Caribbean narrative of slavery and resistance.
We are the only country in the hemisphere where there were Africans who arrived here before slavery was established in St. Vincent and Grenadines in 1764. They came from Barbados. They came from Grenada. They came from St. Lucia. They came from Martinique and Guadeloupe. Barbados was a mature slave colony by the time British suzerainty was established here. And Barbados, as you know, is more or less as flat as a pancake. So when you're running away, there are hardly any hills to hide. So they took boats and they came to St. Vincent.
Emancipation Day is observed annually across the Caribbean on August 1st, commemorating the formal abolition of slavery in the British Empire in 1838. The day honors the struggle of enslaved Africans and their descendants and highlights the resilience of Caribbean people in the face of oppression. Dr. Gonzalez noted that SVG is one of the few countries in the region where the resistance to slavery was led by indigenous people, specifically the Garifuna, making its history particularly significant.
The second feature, which is unique of the historiography which must remember for emancipation, is that this country had the longest period of native resistance to colonialism, from 1763 until 1795, when Châteauguay was ambushed and killed, and the resistance was defeated. The third unique feature is that St. Vincent and the Grenadines had the shortest period of enslavement of African bodies, from 1764 to 1838.
Throughout the month of August, a number of cultural and educational activities will take place across the country to mark Emancipation Day. These events aim to highlight the nation's rich history, celebrate its African and indigenous heritage, and educate younger generations about the importance of freedom, identity, and national pride. The opposition New Democratic Party continues to outline its plans for communities across the country through a series of village meetings. At a meeting held last evening in Otley Hall, Member of Parliament for the West Kingstown constituency, Daniel Cummings, addressed residents on several issues affecting the area. Cummings described Otley Hall as a vulnerable community that has struggled to make meaningful progress under the current administration. He pointed to the neglect of key infrastructure, particularly the sporting facilities, including the hard court, which he said is in urgent need of maintenance.
That wonderful hard court, completely destroyed. The floor is rougher than what we have here. The block work in the bottom is completely missing. The fencing at the top is non-existent. Only the posts for the floodlights remain there. Otley Hall, Edinburgh, I promise you, and I don't make many promises, I promise you that when NDP gets into government, within the very first year, that hard court will be rebuilt and lighted for the people of West Kingston and whoever want to use it. Because I understand the value of that facility on helping the young people to have discipline and respect for themselves and the rest of the community.
Cummings also raised concerns about the lack of job opportunities in the community, noting that residents, especially youth, are being left behind due to the absence of economic development initiatives. He criticized the state of the local police station, suggesting that it is not being treated with the attention and resources expected of a government facility. With crime being a prevalent issue in Otley Hall, Cummings proposed that improving and linking access roads would allow for better police mobility and community response. He pledged that such infrastructural upgrades would be prioritized under an NDP administration.
Something a lot of people don't know is a very short distance to link the road from Gun Hill that you can come straight down here. The police themselves say to us that if that road is built, it will help them time to stop crime because criminals do their thing and escape up there and they can't follow them. It's a short piece of road to be built. And on the other side, if you come down that road, you go up on that ridge that gives you a 360 panoramic view that has the potential for another tourism project. The people who come on the cruise ship will be delighted to go up there and take out the spyglass and have a 360-degree view. On top of that, you, the people of Otley Hall, could sell food, you could sell drinks, you could sell arts and craft, because every tourist that comes here on those ships wouldn't want to stay there. When you have the easy access road, they will all visit that spot. It is so magnificent.
The village meeting in Otley Hall is one of several being held by the NDP as it continues to present its vision and policy plans directly to communities across St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonsalves has once again praised the Royal St. Vincent and the Grenadines Police Force for their effective handling of the 2025 Carnival season, which concluded without any major incidents. Speaking on radio on Wednesday, the Prime Minister disclosed that according to the official report from the police, there were close to 50 crimes reported during the Carnival period. However, he clarified that most were minor offenses and only a small fraction were directly related to the long Carnival weekend.
Assistant Commissioner Acting.
Bailey. Yes.
Bailey. Young grandpa came to see me. Dalloway. Another very good policeman. And would you told me, Superintendent, ACP Bailey told me that they had 47 reported instances of possible criminal infractions over that period nationwide, but only 16 were connected to Carnival.
Okay.
And none of them particularly serious. Somebody get the pocket picked. Somebody, they had altercation over this or that. Somebody is drunk and behaving in a disorderly manner, and so on and so forth.
Police officers maintained a strong presence throughout the festivities, particularly over the long weekend, and were visibly stationed among large crowds to ensure public safety. The RSVGPF also thanked the public for their generally good behavior, which they said helped make their job less difficult. Preparations for Carnival 2026 are expected to build on this year's success, with authorities continuing to emphasize public safety, organization, and inclusive celebration. With the summer season in full swing, Petty Officer Sasha Martin of the SVG Coast Guard appeared on radio today to highlight common incidents and risks that individuals face while engaging in activities at sea. Officer Martin emphasized that alcohol consumption is a major factor in many marine-related accidents and urged the public to be cautious.
One of the most common risks that people face is drowning, right? Persons often go to the pool, as you stated, and to the beach, and sometimes people go beyond their limits. So we know we have persons who go to the beach and they're not too good at swimming, and sometimes we go beyond our limits. Also for the swimmers, sometimes when we go swimming, we believe because we can swim that we have no risk when we're taking part in water activities. And there are many times that persons go to swim and you don't stretch, you don't do any form of warm-up activity before you go into the water, and you end up pulling a cramp, and this makes you end up in difficulty when you're swimming. And persons don't really pay attention to the marine life, and some persons actually may go to the beach and they step on the sea urchins and stuff like that, and some of them, I think the black one especially, is poisonous.
We call them sea eggs, right?
Right, we call them sea eggs. So that's another risk that persons may face when they're going to the beach. And then excessive use of alcohol tends to cloud our judgment, and that's another risk that persons face when they're going to the beach, because you're going in the summer, you want to have fun, you want to have your best time, and sometimes alcohol is part of what we take.
She also reminded boat operators of the critical need to have all necessary safety equipment on board, including life jackets, flares, fire extinguishers, and communication devices. In addition, Officer Martin issued advice to parents and guardians taking children to the beach, specifically cautioning against the use of inflatable floating tubes, which can drift quickly and pose serious risks.
For boaters, you're going out to sea. One of the main things we encourage persons to have are their safety gears, like the life jackets, your safety flares, radios. A lot of boaters in St. Vincent tend to not purchase radios for their small boats because we think that because we have our cell phone that's all we need. But also the cell phone has a range limit as well, so that's something that boaters need to take into consideration. You're going to the beach, make sure you have a VHF radio, and make sure you have your life jackets for the number of persons that you're going to take. Make sure that you have flares just in case you encounter any difficulties. Make sure you have all of these safety gears. We're Vincentians, and persons don't tend to like to buy life jackets for persons who are going to the beach to swim. But that is something that persons, when you have your little kids, or even the adults sometimes, but the adults don't really like to buy life jackets for themselves. But a life jacket is something good that you can have as a person going to the beach, especially for your kids and the persons who are not so good at swimming. Yes, persons do tend to buy the floaties and they buy the tubes and they take them to the beach. But one of the warnings that I would give to persons, especially who are using the tubes, for one, I would advise that you are a swimmer, because sometimes we go out on the tubes and we're not really paying attention to our surroundings, and then we reach somewhere that we're not supposed to be and we tend to panic. And that's where a situation might develop where we might end up finding ourselves in a...
Martin also addressed the danger of rip currents, explaining how to identify them and what to do if caught in one.
So rip currents are normally narrow, strong and fast moving channel of water that flows from the shoreline to the sea. Not the normal beaches that we in St. Vincent that on the mainland normally have rip currents. From the top of my head, I know it's Brighton Beach and Morocco Beach. So those are the two beaches in particular that are normally affected by rip currents. One of the things that you should do if you find yourself in a situation where you're caught in a rip current is, I know this is, it seems simple to say, but don't panic. One of the main things you shouldn't, because that's the first thing we do. We panic. So try to remain calm. The next thing is, do not fight against the current. If you're caught in a rip current, try to swim parallel to the shoreline until you're free of the rip current, and then go back to shore. Sometimes how you can identify rip current, you're at a beach and you see the waves breaking, and in between the waves you might see what seems like a calm area in between the waves. Sometimes that's a way that you can identify rip currents at the beach.
The Coast Guard continues to stress the importance of safety, awareness, and preparation to ensure that everyone enjoys the sea responsibly during the summer months. Meanwhile, Health Promotion Officer in the Ministry of Health, Wellness and the Environment, Shadia Williams, who was also on the radio program, shared important tips on how individuals can stay hydrated and beat the heat during the summer months. Williams emphasized that hydration is essential, especially during periods of high temperatures.
So we want to encourage persons to stay hydrated and beat the heat, which is one of our main campaigns at the Ministry of Health. So some of ways in which we can do that is we encourage that you drink before you're thirsty, meaning that you don't want to wait until you're thirsty to drink. So you can do this by actually drinking before you head outside of the house. And it is recommended that you sip water at least every 15 to 20 minutes, even though you're not thirsty. So we encourage regular drinking and not necessarily to wait until you're thirsty to quench this thirst, but rather to stay.
Much water? 15 to 20
so
minutes.
On a 15 to 20 minutes, let's say like 500 ml.
That's 2 mouthfuls, maybe.
That's a little bit more than that. And also on a daily basis, it is recommended, the World Health Organization recommends that the average person intake at least 5 to 6 glasses of water, which is approximately 1.5 liters of water per day. Another hydration tip maybe is you can set reminders for drinking water, because I know persons may have a busy schedule like myself. So it is recommended that if you're busy or you know you're going to be busy, then set an alarm probably for an interval of 30 minutes, so you can know that, okay, you're supposed to drink at least 250 ml of water right now.
She encouraged the public to carry water with them at all times and limiting outdoor activities during peak sun hours to reduce the risk of heat exhaustion or dehydration.
Okay, so like I mentioned before, for an average person, they should intake 1.5 liters of water. But since you're going to the beach, then I would strongly suggest that you pack a bit more. So probably a gallon. Like, say if you're going to the beach, it is necessary to have excess water, because normally you tend to overstay or spend long periods on the beach. So you cannot have too much water, especially when you're staying at the beach or even rivers.
The ministry continues to urge citizens to prioritize their health as temperatures rise, especially vulnerable groups such as the elderly, children, and those with chronic illnesses. Police have arrested and charged Adunoja Haynes, a 37-year-old laborer of Paul's Avenue, with the offense of introducing prohibited articles into His Majesty's prison. According to the police, investigations revealed that the accused, without lawful authority, attempted to introduce 112 grams of cannabis, 56 grams of tobacco, 2 lighters, and 2 packs of bamboo wrapping paper, prohibited articles, into His Majesty's prison. The offense was committed on July 16, 2025 in Kingstown. Haynes appeared before the Serious Offences Court on Thursday, July 17, 2025, and pleaded not guilty to the charge. He was granted bail in the sum of 2,000 EC dollars with 1 surety, and the matter was adjourned and transferred to the Kingston Magistrate Court for July 18, 2025.